Hello, I'm Otis Elevator Ashtabule Bell. I'm here to talk about the stars. I'm the Star Lorax. I speak for the stars. I'm here to just babble on in Babylon. Ha! Some recipes for exit, for inward and downs, for escapists who want to drop out to drop in to life. People who like to listen in between and who live in between. I'm a queer transgender bard, a mystic, a healer. I do come from the stars, and so do you. And so does this. This is the land of carbon. This is the Death Star. And we're the Skywalkers. We're here to get lucid to the fact this is the dream. Ancestral Celtic god of the light was called Lu. And we have that word lucid to become like Lu, to become the lucid dreamer in the dream. And we can look in astrology at a chart where somebody's light is the horizon magic, where that crack of light is breaking in the east as the rising sign. And whatever sign was rising at the horizon when you were born is called your rising sign. I like to think of a photographer taking a snapshot of you in the center. And that sets up your orientation of how you identify in the world, how you beat the house, how you rise, how you arrange your whole house is based on that rising. Because that becomes number one. Number one. Number one. Um, Tide is high, but we're holding on. I wanna be your number one. Number one. Number one. So we want to do like a little review of kind of what the heck is going on with that, because if we're lucid here and it's a dream, not only when we're sleeping, which is below the horizon that horizon sign snapshot makes, that archer goes boo, sets up your first house. Whatever is under that is nocturnal, whatever is above it is diurnal. That means it's in the dark, in the light, in the underworld, in the upper, in the dream when you sleep, in the dream when you wake. Which one are your stars landing in? Mine are in the waking, but I've got a lot of dreamy stars that like to dream, so I got all the dreamers in the waking. That's why I'm sitting here talking to the mirror world, excited to dance in that portal like an otter on a shoreline of a new dream. These lights on the waters of this portal in the black box are interesting to me because they're going to communicate to you how you're going to see that in between and be it like me. I've had to live like that. I'm transmuting my survivor knowledge like a little mycelial thread, okay? We digest things like rocks. We digest them so the garden lives. We're the ones in between. We're the weavers. We weave all the cracks so that all the thresholds of alchemy can grow. So we're the ones that transmute the rock into this green top. We're the in-betweenies. Do you know the plants can't even take up the rocks unless the in-betweenies, like these myceliums and stuff, do these mycorrhizal processes of digestion? Mushrooms will actually transform the world. Do you know they already are? We just have to support what's going on. Do you know that the breath, it's actually this world I'm describing, is breathing into us. It's so generous. Wow. And the mountain knows it's got all memories, so everything we need is here. We're like looking for it all the time. It's right here. Anyways, yeah, it remembers. This is our memory here. Breathe it in and just listen, receive it, right? So much of it's so much more receptive, our magic. Anyways, I'm here to hand it back. It's free, it's everywhere. Sacred spaces are everywhere. You'll hear me say that a lot. I have a beloved dead friend who's the last thing they said, and it is a beautiful, beautiful thing to be haunted with. I love it. Thank you, Mata. I want to Mata was a redhead and visits me in redheaded birds. Like sapsucker, flicker, hummingbird, robin. I've always had red. I've always wore red. The ancestors know it to be kind of like the blood. of the land. Our blood is continuity. The rowan berry is red. They call it the blood of the highlands. It's in the rose family. And I have roses as my teachers. They were my first tattoos. Everything grew around it. A whole journey. Wild rose, too. The dog rose. Okay. As the crow flies, we know. Ow! There we go. We know the truth is always right in that spiral in the center. It's all about the heart. Crossroads, the bridge it knows. So I study the medicine wheels. Astrology is one. We have crossroads where the rising sign shoots across from your first house of I am to your seventh house of what you get. That's your house of relationship. It'll show what you create from your root to your crown, and that whole thing in between makes a whole self, and that's a whole sky of one day. All your waking hours, they go towards that, and houses, in everything above the chart. It shows what you're gonna do with your outer world relationships, from what you desire, how it marches through the earthly realm to manifest it, and bring it into culmination, and what you get in the seventh, in your relationship house. And then what crosses you from where your ancestors set you up in your house of origins and your family to what you're going to do in society in your house of the 10th house. Those are the main crossroads. You can equate them to sunrise, sunset, deep night, midday, and also you can equate them to the equinox in the spring, the equinox in the fall, and then summer solstice, winter solstice, these epitomes of dark light and halvesies. These crossroads, and then the wheel that you can always cast around them, the medicine wheel. That's what an astrology chart is. Everybody's got an individual one. It's the moment they first took a breath. They wove the stars and the land through their body. They became that bridge and crossroads. In that moment, we have a map called a birth chart in astrology, where you have the Beha. That's what they say, the Beha. In the Celtic Gaelic, Scottish Gaelic language, the word for life is breath. It's the same, and it's Beha. So, in that moment in Chinese medicine, which I've studied, I'm an acupuncturist, that's the moment all the channel systems in your whole body, starting with lung one right here, 365. No, that's not actually the number, that's the number of days, but now I'm blanking on the exact number of all the points because there's actually many more, but there's this basic, all the channels of the main channels, they have the um, rivers of the heavens and earth weaving through our fingertips and toes, and they have these 12 woven rainbows in our body on all the layers of us that are these sort of rainbow dragons that weave from the stars and earth between us, and we're that bridge in between. But it starts in lung one in our first breath. Everything starts with the Veha. In astrology, we take a snapshot there and we look at everything from that vantage point as you, and from that point you study that as you. It's in 3D. The world's breathing in and out of that moment and transiting it, but we study the birth moment as the you, the essential self. And the moment of arrival, it's the moment of the first breath, and we look at the time, the location, the date, and then we're gonna get, where was the light? Where were all the planets around that? What was that portal of light? Because that's always what it is. The orientation of the earth and the bodies, the sacred bodies and the light. We map it. It's a map. Actually, this is what we are, is a map of it in a mini version of the cosmos. Moving in this time, but in a whole time, we're a snapshot of that one moment, just kind of moving through the present. We have a lot of weird things with time where it's kind of funny like this. You can see shifty reality. Like you look at a star and they say some stars are 5 light years away, some are 10, 15. That's an amazing concept. You're looking at the past in that moment. You're looking at light that's that old. You're looking at that exact moment at a 7 years ago light. So that star then to me becomes a portal to 7 years ago. So you can look at the light of a certain star that you might know, oh, that star is 4 years of light. So that's the timing of it. That's the bridge that light makes, that star makes. So that's the bridge in time. That's the portal in time. I'm going to meditate on that star And all the stars have energies. They all have a spiritual portal too. You can meditate on a spiritual portal of a star that you know is a certain timing and heal all things in certain timings in your life, in the past, even in the future, because you'll look at that star in 4 years. Okay, so you can look at any star and you say, how, and do spells in time. How do I want that wish of that star to land in 4 years? And meditate on it. Manifest through the stars. They're always manifesting through you. They land in present time and transits, and we can study that. But it's just a map. You know, people are like, oh, well, why? I don't know if I believe in it. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. You know, if you're in a labyrinth, if you believe in it or not, you are. And wouldn't you rather have a map? Especially if you're in a labyrinth, wouldn't you rather have a map? I mean, at least you can see the stars in there usually. At least you can feel with all of your inner eyes. Wouldn't you want those extra abilities and senses and guides if you're in a labyrinth, which you are? The labyrinth usually has 7 or 8. That's like our gates. That's like the 1 through 7 houses I was talking about that split the chart. Because there's 6 on each side, see? So between the 1st house and 7th house, that's what's determining and anchoring your earthly reality of I am, and this is what I create and get. This is what that attracts and is attracted to. And that whole conversation that makes of creating that and experiencing the gist of that, creating that experience the gist of that of a night and a day, a night and a day. The 1st and the 7th are really pretty potent. Because this is Venus's realm, it's the realm of relationship. It's a mystical map. Many people think astrology is just kind of about nerdy number stuff. It is, but numbers are mystical because patterns are everywhere. So this is an animist journey. It's best met as a friend with your body, with your eyes and heart open, with all the animist languages, experiencing it as a tool to become more psychic and therefore more sovereign, more illuminated to power, more of a hacker of power dynamics, because all we know is we're here to come into strength together. That's a peace and safety I wish for. And so we deserve tools to get there, to become whole, and decipher when we're there or not, and when others are there or not, and to help support that. Work as a team towards that. Coming out of lies is the point. That's the labyrinth. It makes that. Delusion, stuff like that. We're becoming lucid. Positive versions of everything. So we get to invent this dream, and we get to be selves that, coming out of shame, get to create in beautiful ways. It's our dream. Oh, it's lucid. What do we want to do with this? Oh, it's just a dream. It's ours. What are we going to do with that? Permission for sanctuary. Permission to be a self. Permission for positive assertion. Selfhood. Relationship. Love. Positive versions of strength. The 1st house is a fire house. It's Aries. It's usually the trickiest one for everybody. Mars. We got to integrate that part. Permission for strong, healthy versions of that to come into the world. Sense of self. We need a healthy ego. We talk about egos, you know, like a villain, but we need healthy egos, because actually, if we don't have that, then it creates villains in ourselves and other people, in little webs of projection and confusion. It's called lateral violence. That means internalized oppression infects and becomes a toxic paradigm in and a pattern, and that can be an illness of any kind, body, mind, and spirit, in a family usually, and then it cross pollinates when you fall in love, and usually when your first chakras are involved, if your sexual partners and stuff, then you are mixing, right? And so it's a healing, it's an alchemy. People are drawn to balance and to transmute and exchange and to heal these things. And so we ought to have tools. And in astrology, we do. In the healing arts, we do. In traditional culture, we do. We have stories, we have songs, we have the nature wheel, we have the medicine wheel, we have all the plants, we have everything together works as a teacher to help you understand all your senses and bodies and your experience of emotions and relationship as a teacher and a guide. All these patterns are your teachers and guides. Your family, even if it gives you challenges in this, and even if it's in your stars, you can look at it, what those challenges are. There's a blessing because this is an initiation. This is your training. So, this is your training program. And the astrology chart is your map to your training program and your training protocol and your challenges and gifts and all the story to it. You know, trauma, one major hack for trauma is through the mental, to have meaning making. This is a chart of your meaning and purpose. This is a chart of your trauma, how it lays out, how it happens, the karma of it, the understanding, the meanings, all the layers of it, your reactions, everything around it, circumstance, mercy, gifts, blessings, challenges, all of it, binds, harmonies, everything. This is a map of all the tendencies, all the default patterns, all the opportunities, where the medicine is, where the enemies are. Wouldn't you want to know? And it's all you. This is a map. Like you look in a dream analysis, they say everything and it's you. The drop of truth, right? In the Celtic culture, there's Taliesin, this most famous bard, drank the drop of knowledge. Well, it is the drop of knowledge. It looks like an eyeball, right? The sacred eyeball. Protection is the astrology chart. It's a medicine wheel. It's you. Every eyeball is different. Every fingertip's different. Every snowflake's different. Every astrology chart is different because it's a different time, place, and moment. You took that breath from your lineage. You wove that spirit with that land. That shattering is you. That's the shatterling. And the shatterling is one. And that one has never been. And that is a whole universe to itself. And so when we talk about the beginning of a universe, it's that first. And it began with sound. Genesis happens over and over and over. Just like a day, the wheel, it goes and goes. It doesn't stop. So we who follow the light and understand the light, and that we are light, you know, we're mostly water, but then you track that down. Oh no, we're mostly actually air. Oh no, maybe we're mostly light. So track the light and movements of it. Be there for the sacred bodies of it. Because in the waters and airs that tell the beautiful stories in between, we are falling in love, and it just feels good. That's all. Let's not complicate it. I mean, why? We can ask why a million times, especially when we come up against our paradox, which we're going to meet on the crossroads because they're all opposite and challenging each other. That's inherent in the crossroads. That's why a kiss is hot and steamy. That's why the forge is hot, it melts the metal, okay? It's one half, it's passionate. So we got to be sure. Our first house that says I am, it sizzles with the most hot version of the heat, is not vilified anymore. This Mars needs positive expression. I'm wearing the red because I'm a tomboy. Actually, I'm a transgender man. I chose to be masculine. I'm an Aries rising too. I chose to be Mars. Even more Mars than I was, which is already Mars. In this world has vilified me a lot. But I think that there's a lot of ways where inside of us all, we've had a lot of toxic masculinity and a lot of lateral violence, internalized ways it's been bound and then acts out at others and then comes back at us. I mean, that's what that is. It's a web of misuse and misdirected, unhealthy power. How can we become lucid around this? Which means that we can awake and be like, oh, well, this is a dream. So then, how do we want to do it? I put strength of roses on my biceps because I think we need love, and the most gentle thing and beautiful things are the strongest. And I want to show you that deep truth. It is healing. It's called animism. It's that which is alive everywhere. Everything is alive and has a voice. And so to awaken to the many voices, see with the many eyes, is, I've learned after all these years of feeling estranged from my own European ancestors who did mystic, magic, and healing arts, that this is what they did too, was see with the many eyes, hear with the many ears, feel with the many feels, in this animist big web of knowing. So here we are, doing the same thing. And here I am with them, and they've followed me and led me the whole time. Now I see. And so will you? You'll know you've never been separate from them. See, the teacher you were looking for wasn't maybe what you thought. It was right under your feet. It was the breath coming into you. It was the tree. It was the birds. It was all the voices and coos and lullabies and all of the fairy tales that raised you. You didn't know where they came from, but they were all knowing where they came from. And they came for you. And they held you. And they knew you. They knew who they were and where they came from and all the recipes and yeah, all the language, all the vocal intonations and all the family patterns and the stars that are a web that cradle each one of us and form our web. Weave with the lands and new ways around the earth, in particular healing ways with the wells. You see, we come from old wells and we do gravitate towards new ones, and we walked in my line from very sacred wells in Europe to very sacred wells on the West Coast, from coast to coast, weaving the oceans. We hold the West. In my lineages and jump in cold water to heal, and are from very sacred ancient wells and have walked that medicine across the land for hundreds of years. Some of my ancestors were persecuted in Salem as witches, and I've been persecuted many times as a modern witch for many reasons, as a queer and a witch, by my community mostly. But I've had a lot of support, and I'm so glad that the community and the values are getting pro witch and pro queer now. And we're starting to understand these intricacies of persecution. I'm happy to be a man who can be persecuted, so I can give voice to what that looks like, because a lot of people socialize male, unlike myself, who socialized feminist, which is interesting. Um, I can give voice to what male oppression looks like in a unique way now, but we can all do our work to bridge, I guess, whatever exiled power look like, where a community may, in shadow, like we all have in this overarch of society and consensus reality, persecuted men, persecuted conflict and violence in a way where we create prisons, we have conflict, create villains, because there's no resource for conflict in what it truly needs to address what creates it and to mediate it and to bring people into their full potential and wholeness, because what conflict is usually opportunity and breakthrough. And just like the labyrinth shows us these 1 through 7, like we have in our gates, it's a journey. Well, there's the 7 languages of grief, there's the 7 languages of love. There's these thresholds we have in the universe of the 7 inner planets in astrology. These are the parts of the ego to be integrated. Usually, people give up on love too quick and on people in conflict because they don't understand these. They don't even understand the languages of grief. Actually, are under a lot of our trauma reactions, our adrenal reactions, our fight, flight, fight, all the F bombs. They get people in a lot of trouble, vilification, and justify cops and the prison industrial complex and the state. We're vilified if we don't participate in a production economy of colonial capitalism and gender and heteronormativity. There's so many reasons we're persecuted. There's so many modern witch hunts that we have because of racism. It pervades all of the culture and the health systems and all these vulnerable places of like law enforcement, disgusting prison industrial violence that is just normalized. That keeps us going to school when we're young, keeps us going into workforce, keeps us. Otherwise, what? No food, no homeless. You get like put in between. So, I love the in betweens. I understand the mercy there that it's holding for everybody, anchoring the sacred. People are lost. They'll walk over someone on the street on their way to work. He'll be gone. He'll be like still there in an hour. In Canada, it's better. A little bit. A little bit. But it's tricky, you know, these ways lateral violence works. And the Holy Lands are burning. This whole recording is interesting because I'm in this sacred oak grove on a sacred mountain and sacred rocks that remember so much. I have a sacred mountain root, Osha, on here, and Narwhal, and the sacred rose at Crow. And I do speak for things as a deep listener and deep witness. I'll be transparent, you know, and the sirens go off in the background of this video. So I just want to name what we do with our conflict energy and our Aries energy, our fight, flight, our conflict energy, our accidents, where it creates tragedies, traumas, violence of all kinds, injuries, illness. Even accidents are not even random. They're not even outside of this web of karmic tit for tat, you know, the giant ping pong game of life, where what we put out comes back. And when we understand this, we're bridging duality, I think, in the world karmically right now, and it really does help us become in our genders better, our wholeness better, our queerness better, and hopefully everybody's turned into a witch, because that's what queerness does. I found that out first, and I kind of took the pill before everybody at the party so I could lead you through now. So we're waking up. We don't need pills. What I'm talking about is just like becoming lucid, having eyes like you are, awakened to what mushrooms know, which is that everything's woven, and it's great that way. We like it. And it's all about increasing relationship and joy, opening up all the languages, all the eyes, all the ways of knowing and seeing. And the old practices of the ancestors, as far as I've heard and learned from them, there's this practice of just sitting out on the mound, and it's same around here with indigenous people. They've been like, oh yeah, you just sit with the mother, you know, with the spirit creator. And it's the same in the old languages. Not only do you jump cold water, one of the most basic things, you just sit on the mound. You sit and you listen. My name Otis means to hear, because it does. That's it. But what do we listen with and to and how? That's the thing. How? So you gotta sit out and listen. I sit out and listen. I've been doing it for years. Turns out being in the middle, in between, and a regent, and kind of lost and I'm mystic and kind of crazy and needing to go heal by regulating in nature a lot, listening. Turns out my ancestors were guiding me to do that, and turns out it was kind of a blessing I had to do that. It made me a witch. Turns out if I had a culture that was intact with elders that were visible, at least, because I did have elders, it's just I did have elders that were guiding me, right? I get it. Anyways, that's what I would have done. I would have been led to go do exactly what I did. So I know now they led me. The invisible has led me. So I got elders, and I've been led to listen to plants as an animist, to trees, rocks, earth, all the elements with my senses, extrasensory perception, and I'm excited to share all the languages of Gaydar and Jendar too, as we navigate social, reality, love, and all the battlefields of karma, power, sexuality, attraction, magnetism, personal agency, and purpose, magic. I love that word because it sums it up. Everything you have as a gift, your charisma, your constitution, your nature, yeah, just like your beauty medicine, your strengths, you know, what are you? What do you got going on? What does that create? What do you love? How do you like it? With who? Who, what, when, where, how? I mean, you already know this stuff, so maybe it's annoying to look because you're like, I know myself, I don't care. But no, it's super interesting to look at mirrors. Okay, any mirror. I'm looking at a mirror right now, and you're looking back at me as a mirror. I'm mirroring you, and I'm mirroring myself in memory in a mirror to mirror for you yourself, so you can mirror yourself to you too. And maybe you'll mirror back to me through the mirror world, and it'll mirror back to me. This is getting annoying, but do you see the labyrinth? Okay, um, it's fun. So it's mostly made of water. You know, the Earth has about 3 oceans worth of water in it, and that even our bones are basting with water. It's kind of a gay joke, usually a turkey baster, but usually our bones are basting too with water. It's mostly X chromosomes in all of us. Speaking of those crossroads magics, Just water. Don't stress it. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream.